Hello, good morning or afternoon, whenever it is that you're watching it. I hope you've been doing well and practicing all those W's. Wash your hands, wear a mask, and wait back 6 feet. And I am so sorry that this bad COVID-19, it just will not go away. It's still around us, and seems like that a lot of people are getting sick. More people are getting sick. And the numbers just keeps going up. It's sad that we can't do much about it, but all we can do is just trust God. And we know He can. And He knows just what we need. And I know, and you do too, that He's going to supply it. Isn't He amazing? Just think. He has control of everything right in His hands. You know what? That reminds me of a song. I know you know what it is. Go ahead. I know you want to sing it. He's got the whole world in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. Well, if I start singing it, everybody might not ever watch the video again. So maybe it's just best that I don't sing it. But okay. Anyway, let's get back. Let's get ready to find out how Joseph's doing. There's not a beautiful picture of his coat anymore because it was destroyed by his jealous brothers. And if you tuned in last week, you remember that his brothers told this terrible, terrible story. And they killed a goat and dipped that pretty coat in it. And then they went back and told their father Jacob that terrible, terrible lie. And told him about Joseph being dead. And their father was so upset. We talked about him tearing his clothes and how he was so upset and he just refused to be comforted by anything or anybody. Well, things turned out better for Joseph. And now he's been sold to Potiphar. Remember who he was? He was one of Pharaoh's officials that was captain of the guard, which was an important position. Here's the picture again, where we had come from here, all the way up here, back all the way back down to Egypt. We're still in Egypt, but there's no poem today. There's still another part of it, but it was just a little bit too much ahead of today's lessons, but we'll finish it pretty soon. On with the story. Children, I wonder how Joseph felt going to Egypt and being sold. You reckon he was afraid, that he was shocked? He was in a whole new environment with people who spoke different languages, and the culture was different, and the beliefs were different. Joseph loved God, and he had been taught by his father that there was only one God. But in Egypt, there was many gods. Oh my, there's that commandment again, being broken every day. This could have been scary for Joseph because, again, that was that commandment, that you're not supposed to have any other gods before you. God was supposed to be first. But we know who was with Joseph and why he was there in the first place. It was God. God gave Joseph success in everything he did. Well, so did Potiphar. He was pleased with everything that Joseph did. He made him in charge of everything. Looks like things are going great for Joseph because he continued to trust God. Things may go wrong in our lives, but as long as we trust God, we know that He's going to always see us through, and we've got to always keep our trust and belief in Him because He will never let us down. He was made again, like I said, Joseph, in charge of everything. Did you know that Genesis 39:6 says that Joseph was well favored? Do you have any idea what that means? Well, along with all the other blessings that Joseph had going for him, he was handsome. Yes, that's what well-favored means. As we would say today, he was a cutie or nice looking, and I'm sure that lots of girls or women liked him too. Well, this brings us up to something that gets Joseph in serious trouble with Potiphar. How could this happen? Potiphar liked everything that Joseph did. Everything that he did it well. Potiphar was so pleased with him. Well, Potiphar's wife thought that Joseph was a cutie, and she wanted him to do something that only husbands and wives are supposed to do. She wanted him to sleep with her. My gracious. Here's another commandment that was going to be broken. Commandment number 7 says that we're supposed to be faithful to our husbands or wives. Joseph knew that this was wrong and that it was a sin against God. Well, he refused. Good for him. But you know what? Potiphar's wife keeps trying to get Joseph to do that. But each time, he refused. Do you know, she kept doing this for a long time. And according to the Bible and some other commentaries that I was studying this week, it probably happened several times and over a long period of time. So this wasn't something that just happened just a little bit. It took it a while. Well, one day, again, she had plotted this too. One day, Joseph was left alone in the house. All the servants, everybody else was gone. He was left alone in the house to do all his duties like he usually does. Well, how about that Miss Potiphar, as we'll call her, knew everybody was gone, and she took advantage of the situation. How about she went to him and she grabbed his cloak? Now, this is cloak, not coat. This was sort of a loose cape, which was like a garment, and it's usually sleeveless, so it probably comes off real easy. Anyway, she grabbed that cloak and said, "Come here, come sleep with me." Well, poor Joseph ran away, and he didn't even try to get his cloak. He didn't even think about it. He didn't think twice. He was getting out of there. He just wanted to get away from her and not do anything that was wrong. Joseph was being the better person and doing what God would want him to do. And if we all would do the same thing and always be the better person and do what God would have us to do, we'd probably stay a lot more out of trouble the way we can get sometimes. And even as adults, when we do something bad, I don't know if you've ever heard your parents or your grandparents, and I know Pastor Ken has used it, and we have too, that when we do things that God doesn't like, do you know we feel like things happen that God spanks us? Not literally, as with his hands, but he does. He can take care of us. He can discipline, and we know, and it's really bad when we do it too. Well, anyway, Miss Potiphar, well, she got mad. She was so mad, and she was resentful because Joseph wouldn't do what she wanted to do. She tells a whole different story about what happened. Commandment number 9. Remember this pandemic of sins, and we talked about lies? Well, commandment number 9 says, do not tell a lie. Well, she showed the household servants and Mr. Potiphar the cloak. Then she started telling those evil, wicked lies again. Here's how she went about it. She said to them, she says, see, as in Potiphar, has brought us into us a Hebrew to make fun of us. That's what she was saying. He was making fun of all. He came in to lie or sleep with me, and I cried out with a loud voice. Or to us, we'd probably refer to it as screamed. And when I did, he heard me scream and crying out. Well, he ran outside. So she kept his cloak with her until Joseph's master, as in Potiphar, came home. Then she tells him, that Hebrew servant you brought to us come in to make fun of me. And when I screamed and cried out, he left his garment with me and ran outside. The only thing that we can say about Miss Potiphar at this point is that at least she didn't even call Joseph by name. But it kind of was, she wouldn't even refer to him. So I guess at that point she was still, to him, that she was still just a slave. He was a slave, that he was nobody important. But he had gotten a real good position in that household. Well, it doesn't take a genius to figure out who she was talking about. I mean, the servant, who else could it have been, but Joseph. Plus, during that time, punishment was brutal, and Joseph's very life was at stake. She knew her accusations would mean a death sentence for Joseph. And it must have really offended him and hurt him to be accused of anything so outrageous as such an awful, horrible lie. This seems so unfair. And wonder why Joseph, he didn't even try to defend himself. In fact, he didn't even say one word against her or call her names and try to get back at her and be revengeful to her. Nothing. But like we said so many times before, God had a plan. Needless to say, Potiphar was angry. Naturally, coming from his wife, he believed her. Or did he? You know what? Maybe he knew what kind of woman she could be at times. And he also knew what kind of person Joseph was. Joseph had proved it. He probably knew that she was not telling the truth. And I think that's why he didn't have Joseph killed. But really, we all know the real reason. It's because God was in control of the whole situation. And he still has a plan for Joseph's life. He's still not through with it. Oh, no. The time has come, and Joseph has been thrown into prison. Thank goodness it was prison and that he didn't kill him or have him put to death. Wonder if he will have any dreams while he's in there. And the time has come that we're going to hear more about some dreams and how important that they were. And also now the time has come that we've got to close until next Sunday. Let's pray. Dear God, thank you for your many blessings on us this week and for being able to study your word. Please bless all of our families and keep us all well and safe. I ask for your mercy on any requests that the children have or any that their parents may have. You know our every need, and we know you will supply it, because you've told us in your word that you would supply our needs. Please help us to take care of each other and to love each other. Thank you. And all of God's children said, I love you, Jesus.